5 through 1.
Yeah.
There is a big number 1 again with the kid from Notre Dame, Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton. We'll see if he's number 1 for you.
Yeah.
But first, real quick, you said that this position has changed in the NFL.
Right.
How?
Well, it's just like it's looked at so differently. First off, defenses like we've talked about, they play nickel defense so much. So you have that guy who's like, wait, he's kind of a good covering safety, but because we took the linebacker out, we're going to make him kind of play nickel, just because we can count on that guy to do the physical aspects of taking on a block or stopping the run game or wide receiver screen. So there's that guy. There's the free safety nickel hybrid. Then there's the traditional safeties. You're just like, hey, it's a free safety, a strong safety. And then you got guys that are like, whoa, they're truly in the box, like Cam Chancellor. It's like a de facto really a linebacker who's in the mix there. Jamal Adams, same type of thing there too. So there's that aspect. Then you also have the aspect of like teams drafting safeties almost to the cornerback knowledge we used before of going, wait, we're going to use this guy to match up against some pass catching tight ends, and we're going to use him that way. That's how we're going to use him. So that's how it's being used. As far as it's a different look this day and age. And so many times some of these free safeties or strong safeties, like the kid Nasruddin from Florida State last year, I kept going, damn, he's too slow. He can't play safety. He can't do that. Oh, guess what the Jets did? They got him there and they said, hey, we like small linebackers. Play linebacker. So there's that aspect, too, to where you got to look at it to go, there's some teams out here in the NFL that don't like that big linebacker, and they'll look to convert some of these bigger safeties and go, now you'll be a really fast linebacker. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this group right here.
It's becoming very hybrid.
It is very hybrid.
And you do. It seems like you do have a type. You've always liked the Jamal Adams type where you can play him. You can do a bunch of different stuff. Gives you options.
Gives you options. Exactly right. That's for sure.
All right, so we'll see if your guys give teams options here, starting with your number 5 safety in the draft class for 2022.
Percy Butler. All right. This is going to be like kind of my off-the-radar guy as far as like guys that maybe nobody's heard of or whatever else. Louisiana, right? And to the point of like what we were just talking about, this is a guy too that he's not versatile. He's not. He's a free safety, and a free safety pretty much all the way. You want him as a coverage safety and almost as nothing else. Now, he will tackle, right? He's not afraid to tackle. He's phenomenal on special teams. It's like one of the first things you read about him when you do a little like, recog stuff. Is everyone talking about special teams. And then you turn on the film and you go, the dude comes downhill in a hurry in the run game and screen games and everything too. Now, he's not the greatest open field tackler from this standpoint. Has incredible feet, off the charts acceleration. The ran 4.36 at the combine, right? He can fly, Ahmed. And when he reads it and goes, it's rocket up his ass and he goes. Now, where he's not the best at, he can come down a little out of control. And, his ability to, as a safety, in my opinion, and I'm doing this and hopefully people know on like YouTube, I always kind of call it the Cam Chancellor a little bit. Cam Chancellor used to, come down from the safety position and he had a real wide base and his feet would be like kind of hopping in place, right? Because he's just ready. Like, if you go this way, I'm going to change my direction. If I go that way, I'm going to change my direction, but I'm going to break down and you won't be able to break my ankles and I'm going to make the tackle.
Yeah.
That's not what he's the best at. That's the one area that I look at to go, no, there's a little issue here. But when you talk about ball skills, playing the ball in the air, ability to like run with top-tier receivers, burst, it's wowing. It's wowing. Really is. To me, he's made for the pass. He's an NFL free safety, and he's got an elite skill in his fact of like his ability to cover, run the ball down in the air. There's some elite traits with this kid as far as speed, acceleration, and the feet. The feet are real. Now, you talk about change of direction and the feet. There's a little difference to me there. Like, change of direction, yes, like we're talking about breaking down, trying to get a one-on-one tackler. His feet, though, like, let's say he's in the back pedal, and now a receiver crosses his face and runs the post route. He's got incredible feet to, chop, 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 turn him and go. Or wait, I was flipped one way, and now I got to, like, chop my feet and turn around and burst the other way. He's great that way. It's just not the breakdown, wide base, change of direction stuff that he's the greatest at.
That's what NFL.com, if you read some of their stuff on him, they say he's feast or famine in his tackling approach. Either it's a huge hit or maybe a broken arm tackle, just a bad a bad angle.
He
Is this
looks
a
like
guy?
a top-tier receiver almost, the way he moves
Is
sometimes.
this a guy that you like him?
Yeah.
But is this a guy who, when the draft comes,
Yeah.
is going to be maybe a good steal for someone in the third round, second round? Is that
I could
where
see
he's
that
gonna go?
happening. I could see that being the case for this. Yes. I could see this being a guy that's late second, maybe a third rounder. Right. And I'm not expecting Percy Butler to go top 5 in the draft or, in the first round. I'm not. I wrote that down, and I wrote end of second, third round with a chance to be really big time as an NFL football player. But yeah, I think I'm probably going to be one that's a little higher on him, but in a league where we talk about, the pass game and it's so prevalent and the quarterbacks and all of that, and it's not, the safety's not necessarily about the Ronnie Lott guy as much anymore. The guy that can cover and run down the field with a tight end or just play the back end and break on the ball and play center field and do all that. There's a need for that. There's a real need for that in the NFL, and that to me is where he's going to thrive.
So he is number 5 for you, Percy Butler out of Louisiana. I'm starting to figure out why Cincinnati was so good last year. We talked about 2 of their corners. One, you got number 1, and you got a safety in your top 5 as well. Number 4 for you.
Yeah, Brian Cook. Brian Cook was – now this is a traditional safety. And, you're exactly right. The more and more you start to look at, games and you go, well, okay, I understand why Cincinnati only lost 1 game leading into the year, or was undefeated going into the Alabama game. I mean, yeah, quarterback good, damn good receiver. Holy shit, the whole secondary is going into the NFL. I mean, yeah, that's where you start there. But traditional safety, he's bigger than, the last guy we talked about this way. This is a guy where he's a little bit more of in the box, strong safety type, but certainly can play the back end and be a free safety as well. You could see coverage, really good hips. He's very smooth. He's got great body control that way. When he gets down to the line of scrimmage, he can set the edge. And then, he, unlike Percy Butler, who we just talked about, was phenomenal at doing the let me break down and do the Cam Chancellor shuffle there, right? That, to me, is where he was great. His ability to break down and be twitchy and change directions and make tackles that way, I thought were really, really good. All right, so that was what I loved about the game. And then, he likes to hit, right? He's a traditional strong safety that way, but he's strong safety plus because of the kid's ability to cover too. So that's where I liked him. Can take on blockers, shed them, gets off, the blockers, makes a lot of tackles that way. And then I thought, really on film, he's really fast. I questioned if he wasn't faster than Sauce Gardner on film. I wrote that down. I just wrote he's definitely faster than the other corner, which was that Cody Bryant or Kobe Bryant?
Kobe, yes.
Kobe Bryant, right? And then I kind of wrote down, is he faster than Sauce? But the ability to come downhill and break down, run sideline to sideline is special from this kid. And the guy I ended up going, I couldn't figure out. I can't figure out who he reminds me of. I ended up writing with his body type and the way he plays. To me, he reminded me of Harrison Smith a little bit. And that's high praise. But I think this is a guy that can go anywhere from 20 to 40, Ahmed. I really do. He's your traditional free safety, strong safety type that's going to make his living more at the second level than in the back end. But, man, there's nothing the guy can't do. He's really pretty good at both spots.
Well, one of the knocks that I read with him, and I need you to kind of interpret this for me and see if you agree with it.
Okay.
It said, needs to play with quicker punch and release near the line. First of all, what does that mean, and do you agree?
Well, I didn't see that. Again, I think what they're talking about is punch and get off, right? And I believe that's what they're talking about. Again, it depends on how you're coached to that stuff too. You got to be a little careful. Some teams could coach it of, we want you to lock out and hold on. We don't want you to punch and get off anything. We want to kind of stay here until the very last second, and then you disengage and got to do it. Because sometimes when you punch and get off, you end up leaving other holes or gaps, right? So the thing I saw more times than not was the ability to lock out people that were bigger than him. And I go, he's not in a position where he's being controlled here. He's actually quite in control of the situation and kind of assessing and then going to disengage and go make the tackle. And that to me is where I thought he was really good. When I saw screen games or toss sweeps or things like that, okay, he's over the slot, right? And they throw a screen, and now a receiver comes up and gets him. He was phenomenal, like taking that guy on and going, wait, I got my job was to take the edge away here. So, yeah, you're blocking me, but I'm going to move you to the edge while you're doing that. And then if that guy gets to the edge, I'm going to throw you away and make the tackle. I saw plenty of that to be very comfortable in that department.
A physical guy, Brian Cook, 6'1", 206, Cincinnati, you're number 4. Your number 3 safety, a little bit smaller, not by much, though.
Well, this goes into our different thing a little here. But, yeah, go ahead. You want to say it? He's from your place.
Dun, 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 dun. Is that the first time you've ever sang that? I know you don't like to do
I love that song. Well, I love the song. I love the school. I just don't like Jim Harbaugh. But I give a lot of credit to Jim Harbaugh for what he did this weekend with Colin Kaepernick.
And did you hear Frank Gore? He's retiring.
Right.
Great football player.
Right.
They asked him, who is his favorite coach of all time?
Right.
Who do you think he said?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
With the 49ers.
Right.
And Frank Gore's a great guy. He's had a lot of coaches.
He is a great guy. He has a lot of coaches. He's had a lot of coaches. That tells you. Yeah. So you might not have so many good coaches. That's the problem there.
That's true. That's a good call. Your number 3 for Michigan, Daxton Hill.
Man, I love Daxton Hill. Love him. First off, now this guy's different, Ahmed. This is not your traditional, safety type of guy here. This is, if you wanted to classify him as a nickel corner, I'd go, okay, yeah, we could do that and put him in the nickel corner class, right? We could do that. But, you see traditional safety stuff. You do. But I think where he really thrives, or at least popped to me, is when he was playing nickel. And again, you see a lot of these safeties in college. They put them at the nickel spot now because they just go, right, it's like we talk about. It's the game's become such a speed, space game, wide receiver screens, read option, all that stuff, to where you want a guy like this out on the edge. But first off, coverage skills, hips, feet in and out of breaks and transition and all that, it's really up there with the top corners in the draft. So that's the first thing you go, man, the guy's extremely smooth that way, let alone he plays with a physicality and a style of some of the safeties where you go, damn, look at him get off this block and make that tackle. Let him shoot in there and like a missile right at the guy's, quads and take him out in the running game. So he had everything from that standpoint. He's got a thinner frame, but man, he doesn't play like a thinner frame at all. And really, I thought the 4.38 speed was very real and true to form what I saw on film. I ended up writing down for one of the guys I go, this is Jesse Bates, out of Cincinnati, right? Mm-hmm. Who came from Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Jesse Bates played more of the traditional free safety spot in college, but if he was on Michigan, he'd have been playing this Daxton Hill combination. And to me, that's where they're great. It's undersized safety that's great in the pass game, got great ball skills, and they hit and tackle like they're 30 pounds bigger than they actually are. Mm-hmm. And that's what Daxton Hill is, for sure.
So why is he not a tweener and maybe more of a bother? In your mind, because you hear about tweener.
Right.
Oh, we don't know. Is he a corner? Is he a safety? And sometimes that hurts a player.
No, I know.
You don't think it hurts him?
Well, I don't think it's hurt him, and I think Minkah Fitzpatrick soothed people over a little bit with that stuff to realize, listen, he can cover and tackle. If you can't figure out how to use that in the NFL, then you got problems. It's not him, it's you, right? I mean, that's where I look at it, and I think you get to see the majority of his film is in that one area, to where it's different than. Minkah when he was coming out, or Justin Simmons at a Clemson, not Justin Simmons, the other Isaiah Simmons. Thank you very much. I got Justin Simmons written down as another comp for Dax Hill.
That's a good comp.
That I wrote down. Right. Thinner, really unbelievable change of direction. But unlike Isaiah Simmons, and Minkah, with Daxton Hill, he's at the slot nickel spot about 90% of the time. So you really get to see what he is. And at the very least, you go, wait, we're drafting him to play that position right there, right? And then, okay, we'd like to see him backpedal at free safety a few times. That's not going to be a problem. I thought the ball skills were of the top corners in the draft, I thought. And I wrote the comparisons to me were Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons. He's involved in so many plays. You always know where he is out there. Everything is easy and smooth. He was put, I thought, in the toughest position on the defense. They put more on his plate than anybody else on that defense as far as what was expected to scheme. A lot of the times he was in the spot where you'd go, oh, this play is meant to this position up, and they didn't because it's Daxton Hill, and he's so good at his position and playing it that way. I like Daxton Hill a lot, man.
One of the knocks maybe on him was, or at least a question,
right,
was his ball skills, because they said that on tape there were a few times where he was in good position.
He's in great position, no doubt.
He just didn't make the play sometimes.
That's a fair. I like that you're bringing these up too, because sometimes I go off a memory of these and I don't always hit some of these negatives. It's a true thing. It wasn't so glaring like to where in years past I've had corners where I've gone, man, he's all over everybody all the time, but never makes a play. But there was a certain amount of plays where you go, shit, damn, you're there.
Yeah.
Damn, we got to just fine tune that a little bit. But to me, that's the hard part, is being there. Again, one of the all-pro corners or Pro Bowl corners from last year in the NFL, A.J. Terrell. You know what his big knock was coming out in the NFL draft?
Ball skills?
Did you see him play against Jamar Chase? Jamar Chase had a good game against him. Oh, really? Jamar Chase had a good game against him?
Yeah.
To me, if you remember correctly, that to me was like AJ. That was when I knew AJ Terrell was real, because I went, Jamar Chase never got open the whole game. Never. I mean, he caught a bunch of passes, but AJ Terrell was there all game. You can teach better technique on how to play the ball or play the ball into the guy's hands better. You can't teach the guy to stay in the pocket of the guy that runs 4-3. And that, to me, is where people over-evaluate at times. The hard part is staying with the guy, and, you mentioned it. Yeah, we want to see a little bit better, though, with the ball.
We had a question from one of the homies out there. You just mentioned A.J. Terrell. And and it was a question on I can't find it right now, but here it is. Here it is. Sorry.
Cool.
Pete has moved it down in the rundown because I had skipped it.
Yeah.
It was for good reason.
What did it say?
Ashley Riddler says, "Hey, Chris and Ahmed from the UK. Love the show and love listening to the ranking shows.
Thank you.
Controversy sells." And then he has a laughing emoji. He goes, "Falcons fan for my sins, but some mocks have us taking a corner high in the draft. Would that be a bit of a waste because we already have A.J. Terrell?" So you do see some mocks out there. You have the Falcons perhaps taking a person in the secondary, a corner there. You were talking about A.J. Terrell, so I wanted your thoughts on that.
They definitely need help in the secondary in Atlanta, for sure. Now, do they want to go there with, what do they got, pick 7 or 8 or somewhere right in that range, to where I don't think it's happening in there at that pick. I would think Atlanta's one of the few teams that's really in the conversation for maybe taking a quarterback in the top 10. Again, I mean, we'll discuss this another time, but Atlanta's in the top 10. If you like one of these 3 quarterbacks that I look at as a first-round quarterback, take it. What are you going to do? Kick the candle next year and go, well, I hope there's one we like next year, and I hope we don't play that good and have a high pick?
Yeah.
Just address it now. So I would think they're in that conversation there, but I have no problem. Again, the NFL with the receivers and the quarterbacks right now, you need more than one guy. You do. And we've seen that from some of the teams we mentioned early on. Unless you have some crazy great pass rush, okay, you can get away with, an average to a barely above average secondary. But if you don't, you need guys that can match up at certain times and understand how to play football that way. So I could see them going that way maybe in the second round.
Sure.
Something there for sure.
So you really like Dax Hill. He's your number 3. So you must really like your top 2 here. Number 2, as far as safeties in the 2022 NFL draft for you, is
Lewis
Cine.
Thank you for saving me. I should do these things. If I was a professional, I'd look up how to say these guys' names. But that just tells you I'm so into football, and I don't necessarily look at stats and all this kind of stuff.
You just look at number.
I was going to say Lewis Cine, but good thing you said Cine.
That's right.
You helped me there.
I saw the sign, and it was Cine. And he's number 2 for you.
And he opened up your mind? That's what he did?
to how good a safety can be. Yeah.
That's a classic of ours right there. The Sign by, who the hell was that group?
I saw the sign that didn't open. Yeah, I have no idea
who
the group was.
What is it?
Ace of Base.
Ace of Base.
Kristen,
yeah, come on. We got to know that one.
There.
Of course. This might have been... This is another one of my favorite watches in the draft. All right.
Any position
so far. And again, I'm only about halfway through all positions. All right. I'm behind. But I'm just a sucker for guys that can fly and have no regard for their body. I mean, if anybody knows me since I've been doing this, whether it was Bleacher Report before here, these are my kind of guys. Wait, he's got 3 rockets up his ass and he runs through brick walls? Sign me up. I want him. So yes, I love this kid. He's tall, he's long, all right. He's a little bit narrow. It's a little bit of a different build that way, okay, to a degree. But I mean, can really run. I mean, 4.37 on at the combine. It's 4.37 on the field. It's as fast as any corner in the draft, just straight away. So his burst, out of backpedal, if he's backpedaling, a tight end runs the Y out, his ability to put his foot in the ground and go and drive on the ball, off the charts good. I mean, he's got great acceleration. He's not the most fluid with hips, Ahmed. You're not going to want him necessarily guarding some shifty tight end maybe that can, run a double move or things like that. That's not what he is, all right? But, he makes up with it with the acceleration I talked about. And then a little bit like we talked about with the guy from Louisiana, has incredible feet. So it might not always be the smoothest, greatest hips in the world and all of that, but this, and then you just tell me to run straight, man, he can fly. He really can, let alone I think he was the most physical. He or Cook, I think, would classify as the most physical tacklers presence on the field as far as the safeties in this draft.
And it's not like he's a giant guy. 6'2", good height, but 199.
199, I know.
But he plays a lot bigger than that. Plays
fearless
with
hitter.
Fearless,
crazy.
reckless abandon.
Right.
I got here, runs with an intent to deliver a message.
Yes,
so
he does.
That message was received
right.
on film. And he came up in big spots for Georgia, too. And I don't know how much you look into that. It's like you throw out the stats and all that. But, I mean, they played in a lot of big games. In those big games, it was Lewis Cine who was coming up big.
I watch. That's what I do, first off. I try to watch the big games, right? Because usually the big games, you're seeing the best competition. It gives you the best feel. You knew he was out there in every one of those games. He has a real presence in the run game and the pass game. And, the pass game, short passing game, screens, all of that, like Daxton Hill and like the number one safety we're going to hit on here in a minute, their ability to read and react and kind of be a step ahead of the play, that jumped off too. You got to have that at safety. I thought there was – you could tell he's smart not only by angles he takes, having a little anticipation for what routes are coming, but also was the quarterback of the defense. I mean, it's every play. It's not every play he's looking around going, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? Everybody's asking him, and he's pointing everybody what to do. So that's another thing I look at to go, okay, wait, it looks like he's instinctive, and now he's the quarterback of the defense, so he must be smart and really have a clue. And then you talk about the speed, the length again, and just the pure physicality. It is real to me. Again, the guy he reminds me of in my comparison, and I know I didn't write comparisons down for everybody. I wrote the body and the player himself is like Marcus Williams from the Saints, who just signed a huge contract with the Ravens. Right? It's that, except he's maybe not as good in coverage, but he's better in the run game. He's more of a hitter and got the physical presence about him. Or I wrote Eddie Jackson. You know Eddie Jackson, who, of course, for the Bears, got a big contract a few years ago. Similar to that, but I just wrote faster and more physical. Similar build to that, though. A little bit more narrow, not your traditional, whoa, he's got traps and biceps and tries, and this is Ronnie Lott or Cam Chancellor, right? This is, again, I think this is the new age of these guys. But I really liked him. He was one of my favorites, and I like kamikazes at the safety position, and he has a little of that in him.
So where would you like him to play the most?
He's a free safety, strong safety type of guy. Okay. He's the guy that you don't want over the nickel like Daxton Hill. Cook from Cincinnati can do some of that stuff. This is a guy you want, hey, he's in the deep middle, and we want you, if they throw a go route to Chase on this side or one to Higgins on the other side, we expect you to be there when the ball gets there because you're fast and you can turn and go that way. And then, okay, hey, this next play, the other guy went back to free safety. We need you to get right in between the Will and the Will and Mike linebacker here and insert, and you're responsible for the B gap here in the run game. And if you see a run coming, you got to lay the sledgehammer down and go make the tackle. He's made for that. So to me, he's truly traditional safety that way.
So you like him a lot. Your favorite watch.
I do like him a lot. Yeah. I get a little excited about those guys.
You like your number 3 as well. So that must mean you really like your number 1 safety in this class, and that is
it's Hamilton. I mean,
Kyle Hamilton,
Notre Dame.
Is he a generational talent. You don't throw that around. Don't just give that to someone, because we want to make sure that you can't just have a generational talent safety every year. Would you put him in that category?
Yes, I think I would.
And some recent concerns about him.
There is some recent concerns. There is. I get it. The 40 time when we ran 4.59 at the combine. Right.
So MKE says, do you think Kyle Hamilton's, before we get into your effusive praise, let's just start with this.
Yeah, fine.
MKE says, do you think Kyle Hamilton's combine and pro day 40 are red flags? When I look at his tape compared to Cines and Daxton Hills, he looks, quote unquote, slow.
Well, he's different than them, right? You know, Cine, like we talked about, his acceleration is off the charts. I mean, it's 4.3. It's elite receiver, elite corner type speed. So, yeah, he's not that for sure. Now, he's 30 pounds bigger than Daxton Hill, too. Let's remember that.
226.4.
Exactly.
He's a giant.
So there's a different man here. We're talking about a totally different guy, right? And, like, the speed, yeah, I'm a little disappointed in it. I hear everybody. But, like, have just seen too much on film for me to go, I'm not really worried about it. I mean, how many times you got to see him run down a running back or a receiver, or, you know, playing center field and breaking on a ball and covering as much ground as anybody in this. So, like, the acceleration and all that, yeah, it's not top notch, but I didn't come away watching film going, man, it's 4.6. He's slow. I did not at all. I really didn't.
You were surprised at the time. It wasn't like it didn't confirm.
I was definitely surprised at the time. I thought he would have been mid 4.5, maybe 4.48, 4.49, something like that. But here's the other aspect of this. First off, tell me this right here. Here's a slot receiver, right? First off, out of all the safeties, other than Daxton Hill, this is the guy that's probably he's got the best coverage skills. I mean, he could play almost nickel corner. I mean, really. All right, so here we go. Does this right here look like a guy that runs 4.65 or 4.59? It doesn't to me. Again, I don't know. And there's a lot of plays on film like this. You know, and then you talk about, okay, 6'4", he's 220. He can do all of this. He's phenomenal at this stuff, Ahmed. He can play second-level linebacker, strong safety, nickel, free safety. He can kind of do everything there. And because of that size and length, you know, he's very good at, like, kind of what we talked about with Cook with Cincinnati. I mean, there's just so many plays where, oh, it's a toss sweep, and the slot of the tight end are trying to block him. And he kind of just, oh, nope, you're not going to block me. I'm going to hold you out here. Okay, now the ball's out in my area. Get away from me. I'm going to make the tackle. Too much of that, you know. Feel instincts for the game. Just knowing, like, you know, hey, it's a 3rd and short. The ball might go in the flat here. I've seen this on my film study, blah, blah, blah. And just seeing it, recognizing it, and go. I mean, to me, you know, those things were all really special. So that's you know, why I would make him number one. Is he generational to me like he was? Like, was it like Jamal Adams? Okay. Jamal Adams, when he was coming out, I remember turning on the film going, oh, my freaking gosh. This guy is unreal. I remember going, is this the best player in the draft? Like, that's what I was, you know, I hadn't watched the whole draft at the time. I didn't come away like that with Kyle Hamilton. I'm not going to lie. But 6'4", 220, run, hips, like ball skills, everything is actually above average to elite except for a 40 time in spandex. When I just go, okay, I get it. I like fast guys. Everybody knows that. But if the film doesn't concern me that way, then I'm not going to go crazy over that 40 time. And 4.59 at the combine is plenty fast for me with the tape that goes along with it.
There was a talk there for a while that my Detroit Lions, maybe at number 2,
no,
should take a look at Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
You say no.
I say no. No, to me, that's first of too high. I don't think he's that great. All right. Second thing is, the thing that I think hurts Kyle Hamilton a little bit is there's a lot of good safeties. That's going to hurt him, I think. Because I think if you're sitting there and going, wait, we're a team at pick number 7 or 8 and we need a safety. You go, well, there's going to be a good one on the board at the top of the second round when you're picking a 39 there. There's going to be a good one, right? Or you could go, maybe you trade down if you need a safety. You know, again, I didn't think the difference between Kyle Hamilton was so much greater than the rest of the group that you go, oh, we have to have him right now at pick 6 or 5 or 7.
All right, so Pete, we have to block Chris's tab of generational talent. We have to block it.
Because that doesn't sound it to
It
you?
doesn't sound like it,
Yeah.
right? We have
Yeah.
to block it. Pete agrees with me, too. We got to take it away.
Yeah.
So you like him a lot. We're going to take away the generational. But why? What? I mean, you've mentioned it all right there. If you're a team in the NFL, now you're thinking about it.
I am thinking about it. It's because it's a good conversation. I never really thought about it that way. I think he's going to be more made for the NFL than he is college football.
And he was
I
good
think
in
that's
college
probably
football.
why I think that's probably why I think it too. I do. And I just think it's very rare to be that size and to be consistently asked to cover nickel receiver, slot receivers the way he does, right? So
when Isaiah Simmons was talked about, it was the idea like we're going to be able to do things with him that maybe we haven't been able to do in the NFL before. It will open up this whole new world.
Right.
Is Kyle Hamilton? Could teams look at him in the same way?
They could. That's where I'm almost want to backtrack on my stuff here a little bit to where I go, a little like. There's just to me, where maybe I'm misvaluing or maybe I need to stick to my guns with the generational talent a little bit more is like, it's just, there's no weakness to his game, I guess is where I look at it. Do I wish we could match a little bit of a better number with the 40 and all of that? But to me, it's generational in the fact that the size, the length, the hips, the ability to play the ball. He brings it hitting and tackling. He's very good open field tackler. Yeah, that's a tough one.
You're gonna go. You want to put it back on him. You want to put generational back on him.
I do kind
of.
Well,
certainly his size. We haven't seen a safety that big, right?
No, we have not. No, we have not seen anybody that big. And then when you look at that big, and I think like you talked about those coverage skills, like let me just read some of the few things because this is the last thing, and we're getting out of here soon. Like has the ability to cover wide receivers at a very high level. He is sudden and twitchy, right? And I mean that again, like, hey, he's sitting there at nickel, and like they throw a bubble screen. His ability to like react to it right away and get in that position we talked about earlier with the wide base and being like, you're not going to get around me. I'm ready to twitch and go any way I want. He's great at that stuff. He's great. He moves really well in short areas. He's made for that second level of an NFL defense. Is there a little bit of a build-up speed? Yes, but it's not bad. And, incredible range at free safety. The very good hips and man-to-man coverage or working the middle of the field as a free safety. Has great instincts and a feel for what offense is trying to do. He can play nickel. I mean, he played the Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah position this year, which is basically a weak side linebacker / nickel, where they try to get away with like, here's a freaky guy who's not really a cover guy, but he can cover good enough, and we need him in the run game. So he's like, that's what he did. So I think that says something too. Like, this guy who was really a top 20 pick that had a heart murmur, we want you to fill in for him, and no problem. So, that to me says a lot too. Really good tackler, really physical, takes on blocks really well. And then I put the last thing, and maybe this is where he's elite, or where we got to go, it's generational. He was put on earth to cover the pass-catching NFL tight end, to me. He's put on earth to cover Travis Kelce and Evan Ingrams and the Darren Wallers of the world. He is. So that's maybe where we can see him be generational, where you don't get to see that in college because nobody knows how to feature anybody in college anymore. It's just, college offenses have come down to this. Let me see the one guy I can get the ball with who has the least amount of people around him, and then that's our play. Oh, that receiver way over by the sideline, they're not double cover. Let's just throw it out there, and we'll just throw it to him. Yeah, he's behind the line of scrimmage, but we'll just let him make a play. I mean, that's college football. So it does guys like him an injustice at times because it's like you don't get to see his specialized skill set, I think, that will translate big time in the NFL. Really good question with the generational thing, though. You have me reeling
so
and
you
thinking.
might have things that you look at, like
I think
elements
that are
of his game that you have not seen and won't see in a generation.
That's where I guess I think I'm thinking is generational. It's a little bit more of a projection generational, and I think a lot of Notre Dame kids, they translate to the NFL game more maybe than they do the college game.
Take us back to when you saw him a couple years ago.
I mean, same practice as JOK.
First time you really kind of saw him?
First time I saw him, I'm on the practice field. It's mid-August. I'm out there at Notre Dame. First thing I went, who's this number 6 kid? Because I was going, who's number 6 kid? And they were like, oh, yeah, he's going to be our linebacker. And I was going, I was like, he covers better than every corner on Notre Dame.
Cornermall.
Yeah, I mean, so he was amazing. And then it was like, wait, who the freak is this tall beanstalk in the middle of the defense playing? And they were all like, oh, that's our freshman. That's Kyle Hamilton. He's a freak. Oh, my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, the next 5 minutes, he had, like, 2 interceptions in practice. And then I was like, well, he's tall. He's not going to hit anybody. Then, like, a few minutes after that, he had, like, an unbelievable collision. And I was just like, oh, my gosh. And they were like, and I can't remember if it was Brian Kelly or somebody else. They were like, yeah, he's a 3-year guy. He ain't going to be here that long. And it was like, yeah, no, he's not. He's out of here. He's going to be out of here in 3 years for sure. And that was my first experience, let alone first game on the field. I'm on the sideline working for NBC. He gets a pick or a pick six, like on the first drive of the game. Like as a freshman, and it's like, oh, hey, guys, I'm the best player in the defense with JOK. No problem, right? I'm a freshman. I mean, so that was my first experience for him. He's made for the NFL.
And unlike maybe a Stingley over at corner, he kept it up. He continued to have a good college career and kept
it up, passion, everything you want from him, right? I mean, so we'll see. Again, I wrote top 20 pick. I did not write top 10 pick down.
That's interesting.
I know.
That's interesting.
Yes,
all right,
it
so
is.
That does it. Those are your 5 through 1. I think we have a look at the final rankings here one more time. And there is a question from Anthony Rufo about the Jets here.
Good old, that's our resident Jet fan, Anthony Rufo.
The Jets in the Saleh scheme.
Yeah.
Any of these guys have shades of Jaquaski Tart, a player you've been high on for a while. So Jets have some picks high. I guess you don't think they should go safety that high. But what do you think? Anything out there?
Yeah, well, the one where I look at for the Jets, again, is some of these guys, I got to get a little better feel for pass rushers and offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Brian Cook could be one of those guys that's there at the top of the second.
Sure.
Right? For them to take and be that type of guy, certainly. I look at like Daxton Hill as being more of like a Jimmy Ward, LaMarcus Joyner type guy, right? Mm-hmm. Just smaller, heat-seeking missile who can cover, but he tackles and he doesn't realize he's 190. He thinks he's 235.
Yeah.
Right? So that to me could be that. But also with the Jets, to be a little more specific too, thought there's a lot of corners that kind of fit what they want. As far as tall, long, jam, get back, don't let the guy run by you. There's a few of them in the draft, too, that are going to make sense. Guys that are like a Sauce Gardner, whether they want to take him in the top 10, I could certainly see that happening. Sure. But, second, third round guys, a kid from Tennessee, Alante Taylor, he's got a similar build to that. There's a lot of 6'1"-ish corners in the draft here that will help the Jets out in the secondary as well.
You got a Jets fan up there who's listening, hanging on your every word here.
JK. Do you want a safety in the top 10?
Never again.
No, never again.
Never
He's
again.
Scarred by Jamal Adams' generational talent. He's scarred by that, yes.
Yeah, never again. That position is dead to us from this point forward.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.